Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. With me, I have Andre, who's our director of sales. My name
Hi,
is
everyone.
Shai Avi Trandyman. Let's jump in. How are you doing, Andre? How's everything?
Yeah, good. Busy. It's end of the quarter. I guess it's the same for everybody here in the room. We're all cranking up our last miles of the year, 2025. Last webinar as well. Quite excited to be on it. So thanks for having me here, Avishai. Um, yeah, GEO, LLM, and CNS.
It's like we threw every acronym possible, but we want to try and make it really about, what's happening, what are we seeing, and what you should be thinking about, and offering actually a new framework that Andre and I have been developing, and I think would be exciting to share. Would love to get your feedbacks and thoughts. So feel free to ask questions throughout. We have Yael moderating and monitoring the questions, and she can ping if there are any questions arising. So let's dive in the spirit of speed. Just a quick intro about what Trendemon is and what it does. So journey optimization, website experience optimization, all of those things now grouped together under one platform, essentially delivering the right content or answer to the right person at the right stage. So again, part of our evolution of delivering value in an answer-led environment. And then again, from a consolidation perspective, Trendemon is able to consolidate, replace tools, optimization tools from page level, journey level, as well as analytics. All right.
And
Super.
now GEO as well.
Now Geo, yeah, we're going to add more layers there.
But I
Uh,
think we're positioned. We're really well positioned for an actually effective tool in the geo space that gives a lot of internal abilities, but also has implication to external abilities and in terms of how you'll be seen on these LLMs as well.
Fantastic. All right, so what are we going to be talking about in this session? We're going to start talking about something we've already started talking about in recent webinars. It's this transformation of the buyer journey from reading lots and lots of pages to asking questions and getting answers. So the transformation to answer-led journeys. Then we want to go a bit, I don't want to say philosophical, but go at a higher level and say, what is a good answer? What is a good question? And what do we need them for as part of a good decision-making process? Lots of good there. And then we're going to be sharing some new concept that I'm super excited about, which is CNS. We're going to talk about what CNS is very shortly, but stay tuned because I promise it's going to be worth your time. And then talk about demoing it. What does this CNS look like across the GTM? And how does it actually look? And some actionable next steps you can take with us or without us as you're part of your transformation process. All right. So from content-led to answer-led, we're going to breeze through this because I think we've talked a lot about this transformation in past webinars, but just for people who are here for the first time, what we're seeing is this shift from the old way, the old world of people having to go through a lot of content in order to build this mental map and to be able to answer on their own what they are trying to achieve, what they're trying to solve, and essentially trying to build those answers as part of a decision-making process. So Andre, maybe you can share, coming in from the sales perspective, how you're seeing buyers now coming in and engaging with us. What does that shift look like from that sales perspective?
So definitely seeing a lot of shift, right? Buyers now today, they want a sales-free experience to an extent, right? They maybe want to get in front of the salesperson just to negotiate or just to kind of close these gaps, and maybe jump in depth in a few topics that they've already discovered. It's not like they weren't doing that before, but right now they're doing that at hyper speed. So the deals are getting like the buyer journey is getting accelerated. It's shorter. It doesn't mean the sales cycles are getting shorter because they're probably not. There's still a lot of pushback on software. It's 2025, 2026 is coming up. But the research cycle and the buying journey before they speak with sales is getting much, much faster. And that's because of AI. So we see buyers that are asking prompts, questions about vendors, getting prompts to shortlist vendors, and doing a lot of these research on a question-based engine outside of anybody's ability to control anything.
Right.
Mainly, the main point there is that we can control the content that is serving these engines, that is actually going to educate on us and position us, us as a vendor in the market.
Yeah, and as we were trying to unpack what this actually means, there are a lot of focus on the answer, right? It's AEO, answer-led, the answer, the answer, the answer. The answer is, we need to bear in mind, they're not the objective, they're not the goal. The decision is, right? Answers are our way of reaching better decisions. And what are better decisions? Well, decisions are ranked by the speed and quality, right? So if we look at high-performing teams or individuals, for that matter, it's their ability to reach high-quality decisions at speed. And now with LLM, we have this ability if we take the right steps to empower it. So when we want to talk about is actually what makes a good answer, what makes a good decision. And in that respect, if we break down those good decisions, they're not just the answer part. We have to give a lot of credit also to the question, right? Because if somebody's not asking the right or the good question, they're not going to get a good answer that's going to support a good decision. So not to get too philosophical, but I think that's something that we need to pay attention to. And we're going to be introducing new concepts in this webinar, which is not just answers or questions. It's those pairs of Q&As, those Q&As that are part of that new buyer journey. So Andre, what is a good answer in your view? What do you think are the components or
a good answer should really answer the question. And I think like in sales, we're constantly talking and training and trying to improve on the type of questions we ask to lead to a certain point. And companies invest a lot in their FAQs, in their objection handling materials, in kind of trying to strategize around everything possible that their buyer might need to know and doesn't know, and then make that accessible for them. So once you know what the typical questions would be, you can really give better answers. I think that's the bottom line.
And different questions change based on perspectives, personas. So it is really, again, going back to context, who is asking that question? What are the questions they're not asking, they should be asking, and helping to guide them in that respect. And that brings us to that first, I would say, novelty that we're seeing is the Q&A. The Q&A as a new buyer touch point. And when we started Trendemon, we looked at engagement with pages as a very important touch point, as a signal to help us understand whether the journeys are progressing, to rank those pages. Those of you who are familiar with Trendemon know that content really is that focal point. And today we're talking about this new Q&A component in those buyer journeys that also requires us to measure, rank, and connect it to outcomes, and then ask the question which Q&As can be attributed to positive outcomes in the buyer journey. So that's definitely something that we're already seeing this in our systems, right? We're already seeing people engaging with our answer engine on our website and being able to then connect it into a fuller context of what does a good Q&A look like.
Yeah, I agree here. There can be some noise, when you're engaging with a certain page or a topic, and that is one signal, and typically SDRs, BDRs, and us in sales would try to pursue some interest in some pages that were showing some sort of interest. But when you have a user action and actively asking a question, it's much stronger of a signal.
And it's, I think, more tightly related to an actual human process. For example, going on a call with an account executive or a BDR, it is a question and answer process, right? It is something that's more natural to us. We want to ask something in our context that we care about. We don't care generally about what the product does. We care about what it can do for us in our environment, in our industry, with our comparables. So again, without trying to do too much build-up, we want to introduce a new concept that we're super excited about here in TrendDemon, which is the CNS, which is a content nervous system. And I think what AI is teaching us is that a lot of the things that we're seeing from the technology side are basically taken from the biology, right? If you think about neural nets, just as an example, right? Neural nets are an organic invention, right? That is something that nature has invented. Same thing with LLMs. LLMs are mimicking the way that we are compiling answers or a mental map or a worldview and then replicating it in a digital concept. The same thing can be said about the central nervous system. The central nervous system in biology is a decision engine. It takes inputs, it processes them, and then it helps the organism take a decision. We want to put or look at the content as a central part of that nervous system. So content, nervous system, that needs to be a central part of your GTM. And I know marketers love, the acronyms. We're sorry for piling another one on you, but beyond the acronym, beyond the jargon and the marketing fluff, we do want to touch on some core concepts of what a CNS is, what it can do, and how it should be evaluated, and then give some live examples, some real life examples of where it actually, where rubber meets the road. Right. So what is a CNS essentially? What is a content nervous system able to do, able to understand, and then able to provide? So first thing is that central brain has the ability to understand our product, our content, the various proof points. Proof is going to be another topic that we're going to be discussing in this webinar, and the customers. It has to take into account buying signals, right? What do we already know about that person asking that question? What do we know about their journey? What do we know about their company? What do we know about all of that stuff? And then I think most importantly, right, is the connection to outcomes. All of this is not really useful if it's not in the prism, in the context of how is this actually impacting our revenue, our bottom line, and so forth. Because, we have Andre here from sales. Marketers, we love doing all this stuff, and, we talk about geo and all of that. Essentially, if you think about us like a soccer team, right? We are the supporting crew, eventually helping Andre get in front of the goal and make that score. So if we're not doing that supporting role effectively, no goals are going to be made. And scored. So this is the first concept of a unified system that is aimed at supporting this answer-led journey. 3 foundations we touched about them, right? So Andre, maybe you can take again, going back to the biology, right? From your perspective as an account executive, as a salesperson, how are you translating this into kind of the activity of the seller?
Yeah, definitely. I can give you a few use cases or examples. For example, this case where you're getting asked a technical question on a call, and this typical thing salespeople would say, like, "Let me get back to you on this. I'm not sure," and then they would take some time and get back to you on the topic. Right now, with something like a CNS, you'll be able to pour in all of your sales assets, all of your technical assets and knowledge base, and just ask it very quickly. And if it has some implication on the type of company your buyer is from, or the type of segment and industry that buyer is from, it'll be able to analyze all these parameters and just float up the question immediately. But also, this is really a cross-functional ability here. Like, content consumption within itself is good to see that, some traffic is getting to the website and consuming some of your content. But if you don't know who they are, what they are, when they're consuming it, and how much of a frequency they're doing it per session, then kind of, and also tied to goals. I mean, like this data is kind of useless. Okay, so they were there, and then what? What do we action with it? How can I use this as a signal? I'm looking at the past slide here. So what the real shift is being able to tie all these points together with a buyer, with the content, with other teams in your GTM setup, and just creating a holistic journey and kind of a holistic system that can support that journey as well.
Now, I want to play devil's advocate. We are a tech vendor, a MarTech vendor. And of course, we have our agenda of introducing new functionality. And, people would say, why are you, messing us, with new jargon, new categories? We just recovering from ABM. Now you're talking about CNS. Why isn't the tools that we already have today, and we are using, so many tools, why aren't they essentially a CNS? Why do we need to think about this in a new framework, a more consolidated framework? Right. So I think the first candidate we want to tackle is chatbots, right? We have, chatbots traditionally aimed at getting meetings booked, and sort of like an SDR, I don't say in disguise, but an extension of SDR on the website with the main purpose of booking meetings. The challenge is there's no real depth of answers because there's no deep connection to content, Q&As and outcomes in that respect. So I think that's one area where we need to differentiate that. This isn't about throwing a widget on the website. This isn't also about just connecting more knowledge base and having your knowledge base, and that's also something that we are now just improving on. So we have Trendyman's knowledge base running on our system for our customers, what we call SAIL. You can ask the agent anything about the system. And then we have our agent running on the website. And now we're just in the process of bringing them together to provide the best possible answer in any type of situation, direction, from any type of context there. Here we're a bit, I don't want to say discounting personalization. We are a personalization platform. But again, rule-based personalization is not hitting the mark when we talk about this content nervous system that we are discussing. These are rule-based, and they're not able to, again, tie into this entire answer-led journey on their own, right? They can be part of it, but not the whole thing. And again, going back, Andre, outcomes, right? Revenue, money. Where does it meet us from an end of queue perspective when we're looking at everything that we've done? How is this actually impacting our pipeline?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So let's talk use cases. And let's start with your use case, or the website's use case.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's quite a, like, the first use case people would think about. It's quite straightforward. Your target segments, you're investing a lot into bringing that traffic on your website. They're landing on your website. They're consuming content. Their attention span is very, very low. And there are now people who are probably used to asking questions over AI. You're sending them over to like a generic website. So not anymore. Now they can ask the AI that is your website anything about you. The other side of that is you as a GTM leader will have visibility on their journey, at what point they've asked questions, what kind of questions they've got, and also what kind of answers. And we know to couple these activities with successful journeys, that is, people who have signed up, converted, and closed won, or any kind of goal that you have in your CRM and marketing automation. So these now become valuable in a statistical sense.
Right. And, in B2B, we've been obsessing for the past few years with signals, right? It's all about signals. 6 Sense is talking about the signal verse and the buying group signals and all of that. And for the first time, marketers have front row seats to the best possible signal they can get, which is a question, right? That's the best type of signal that has usually been either a part of individual conversations they had with salespeople. So either you had to connect your gong into it or go through a lot of data. But now you're giving them the anonymous, right? So we're enabling the anonymous visitor that we may know their company, but not necessarily know who they are, to ask those questions behind that anonymity wall, which we all know they really appreciate and protect and want to conserve as much as possible into a very late part of their journey, right? They don't want to de-anonymize very early. Sorry, Andre, but they don't want to speak with sales until the short list. Nothing personal, right? It's just the way that we know the buyers are operating. So from a website it's not just conversion rate optimization. It's not just increasing conversion rates to pipeline. It is also getting very strong, high quality signals for your revenue team, for your sales team and BDRs about what they actually care about.
100%.
So moving to sales. So how are you seeing this? Is it replacing you? Is it empowering you?
Hopefully not replacing me, but definitely empowering you. I think that the agents can be, the ultimate sellers, right? They don't have emotions, they don't have bad days, they're always there, and they know everything. With some training, they can get really, really far. But kind of touching upon the point of a signal, once a user, a buyer asks you a question on your website, out of 500 accounts, and you can get 30 of those accounts prioritized, that's a very strong signal they've done something proactive. But now that I can kind of leverage that agent or CNS based agent to do some sales activities for me. So, for example, I can take all my common objections, put them in as an FAQ into the chatbot, and make sure that they deliver suggestions on these questions in the form of questions or answers throughout the journey. So the buyers can get to conversations with sales much more ready, much more aware, and position the way that you want them. So sales don't need to deal with positioning anymore throughout the conversation. It's just a thought, right?
Yeah. So we got a question, but before that, I just want to touch on something that you mentioned, which is there's a lot of insight and know-how that salespeople have, right? They have objection handling. They know a lot about their customers. The challenge is this know-how, these playbooks are a lot of times just in their heads or maybe in internal documents. Now, if we're able to connect them to the CNS, now they're able to empower your entire org and not just those individual account executives. We got a question about whether our platform is alternative to something like Qualified or can be used in addition. So I'll answer this. We are not trying to replace the meeting booking chatbots. If it's the Qualifieds or if any of the, they have different capabilities in terms of routing, for example, to different SDRs. They have the ability to have a human SDR take part of that conversation. We see our role is more of externalizing content, so providing answers from the content in a more seamless, native way into the website. This is where we focus on, and this is why our focus really is on, as we talked about, the CNS, the content nervous system, which can operate in addition to your existing, if it's chatbots or meeting booking experiences that are running.
Yeah, we have quite a few customers using Qualified and Tradiment as well.
Yep. And we had an integration with Drift RIP, but so we were looking to do something with Qualified, I guess, as well. All right, marketing content strategy. I think this is really the easiest and one of the lowest hanging fruit when starting to use a CMS is really mapping those gaps in content or in answers that if your website is not able to deliver good, adequate answers, why do we expect the LLM outside being able to deliver better answers on us? So it is a very critical part of the process of this stress test of, do we have the right content and context? Do we have the right answers that our website can generate? I know a lot of emphasis on how do we appear better on external LLMs, the whole GEO premise of, you have the CEO asking something on ChatGPT and then, screaming at the team, why aren't we showing up? Why is this giving such bad answers? It's, for me being, gray haired, reminiscent of the SEO days when, the CEOs would go on Google, why are we number one on this and this topic, screaming at the marketing team there. So it starts internally. It starts with your content stance, with your answer engine stance internally, and then being able to address those gaps. Want to say one thing about proof, because that is a bit, seems like something that I haven't seen brought up in a lot of conversations. I wanted to address that. LLMs love proof as a foundation for the answers. If your website maybe has great content, but it's lacking in proof, the LLM is not going to give the answers you expect. And we try to find those shortcuts. We always try to hack the system as marketers. We try to do these kind of the ways to get around it. At the end of the day, if you have the proof, you have to make it very much accessible. If you don't have proof, go and create it, right? Go and create those case studies, those validations, those insights. Don't just expect that if you write something, it will come up as the word of the living God. It won't. So proof is critical, and we put that first. The second, capabilities, not clearly described, products change. And lastly, also another gap is the understanding that different personas in your buying groups will look for different answers. And you have to make sure that your Q&As, those mini FAQs, are delivering those answers. So just the other talk, we're going to rush on this, but this also, of course, is very applicable to CS teams, right? The customer success teams. We've been using internally and Trendybean something called SAIL, and our customers have been using it. And in that respect, it's not just about a how-to or of a specific product or how to use it. What we are now doing is adding the methodologies. What are the playbooks? Adding all of that insight into those knowledge bases. And so your CS team can now onboard faster and get better enablement for your teams. So,
and guess what? If your visitor, kind of pre-pipeline buyer, is doing some research on your website now, and they ask a question about that and what kind of playbook CS has, the CNS is going to know, and he's going to tell them that answer. So this is kind of applicable cross GTM, cross funnel, different points.
Right. So what are we seeing today? What we're seeing today is that companies are building a lot of those mini CNSs, right? They're building a chat bot and a support bot, internal knowledge base, and all of them are kind of fragmented. And, when we look at it and we're trying to look down the road, where do we see the future of these content nervous systems? It really is about this consolidation, to having a one place, a single source of truth that can provide the best answers to different askers, to different people asking those questions. If it's internally from your organization, if it's visitors on your website, if it's through email, or if it's agents, other AI agents coming to your different assets and asking those questions on behalf of the buyers, which is going to be the next iteration that we'll be seeing and having that. So definitely having the CNS as a central point, just like our CRM is our central source of truth, our single source of truth for deals, for pipeline, for revenue. Our CNS should be our single source of truth for our content, for our answers, to fuel those answer-led journeys. Right, I know we're just at time, we've got a few minutes, and I do want to leave some time for questions. So Trendybean CNS, what can we do? What are we doing in that respect? And what are the offer that we are extending to the team? First, the ability to ingest what we do today, look at website content, look at journeys, look at signals, and take into account different business KPIs from your CRM, from your marketing automation, connect them under one layer that basically maps those journeys and looks at those Q&As from a GTM perspective, right? Not from an isolated experience perspective, but from a business perspective, from a persona perspective, content, etc. And just like what we do today is with content ranking and scoring, where we score different content items depending on their impact on the buyer journey, we are now looking to score those Q&As as part of that, those touch points, right? And then the outcomes could be outside through the website, through personalized conversations, BDR, so Copilot for folks like Andre to be able to ask and get immediate questions without having to wait for a sales engineer, and for marketing teams really getting a deeper insight on their positioning in the GTM, their AI stance in some degree there. I think we may have another question. Yes. Andre, you want to talk us about this offer, and I'll review the questions as you're going through. What are we offering our amazing audience, people joining us today?
Sure. So what we're offering is a 30-day CNS audit of your website, essentially parse the content, traffic, and engagement with questions. So what we have is an interface for you to embed on any page that you'd like, and get the feedback of what kind of questions your buyers are asking without them having to speak with you directly. See their journeys, get insight on where uplift can be made, content gaps, and give you a look and feel of how a CNS should be behaving. And of course, a short demo because we haven't touched the product at all in this session. So I'll send you a follow-up on this. Feel free to join.
Great. So we have one question about LLM indexing. From an LLM indexing, is there a meaningful advantage to giving a Q&A dedicated page rather than keeping it only in a footer? This is a great question, which I have a perfectly accurate answer to, which is, I don't know. I think this is something that we are still trying and testing. We are incorporating these LLM FAQs in separate pages. We are also incorporating in TrendDemon, just to show you a quick example, we are incorporating contextualized summaries into the pages themselves. This is from our blog. And we have, this contextual summary, which we know is, by the way, scanned by the LLMs and the engines. It is accessible to them. And what we are now doing is really testing how they are impacting visibility, how they're impacting discoverability, and all that stuff. But as I said in the beginning, things are rapidly changing. I think what we're trying to find is really what are the constants? What are the things that we feel are true from a GTM perspective? And that is, people are looking to make better decisions faster. That is not going to change, even if it's going to be through agentic means. And content is going to be a foundational part of the quality of answers that we are able to produce. I think what has changed is the speed. That is the new factor. Speed has now been accelerated. The ability to provide answers at speed is definitely the main change here. And that's why we urge companies to take a very proactive stance at this and not wait for things to settle down. They won't settle down. They will just accelerate. So I'd say the sooner you start to understand where you are in that, the better you can improve and close those gaps.
Definitely. A fast-paced world, everybody's trying to buy back some time, and AI is helping us do that.
All right. So just 6 minutes overview over time. So I think we're good. I want to thank you all for joining us. Andre, thanks for joining me and for providing the sales perspective. It shows that marketing and sales can play nicely, right? So from time to time.
It should.
Yes. So wishing you all a very successful Q4. Happy hunting and closing and winning. And if you want to ask, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, with Andre, and reach out to us, take us up on this offer. Get hands-on experience with what a CNS can be. To be completely transparent, we are building this as we go along. So these are things that we would love your inputs and thoughts on how you're thinking about this. It will help I think the whole ecosystem build and provide better value. So on that note, wishing you, for those who are signing off for the weekend, for those who are signing off almost for the weekend, happy holidays, and see you on our next webinar in January. Going to be with 6sense and 2 amazing customers there. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, Andre.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye, folks.